All right, let's dive into something I think we can all relate to, at least a little bit: the psychology of the paralyzed dreamer. So, let me ask you something. Do you have these huge, amazing, vivid dreams for your life? But when you look at the calendar, you realize months, maybe even years have gone by. And, well, nothing's really changed? If that hits a little too close to home, you are definitely not alone. And the reason for it is probably not what you think. Most of us, our first instinct is to blame ourselves, right? We say, oh, I'm just lazy, or I just lack discipline. But the psychology here tells a completely different and, frankly, more interesting story. Your inaction isn't some kind of character flaw. It's actually a product of your brain's own hidden defense mechanisms. And that right there, that's the core of what we call the dreamer's paradox. It's a simple but really powerful idea. On a deep, almost primal level, doing nothing often feels so much safer than actually taking a risk.
Okay, here's a weird one for you. What on earth do movie spoilers and your biggest, most personal dreams have in common? I know, it sounds totally random, but the answer reveals a fundamental truth about how our minds handle the unknown.
And the answer is this concept called cognitive relief. See, your brain is fundamentally wired to get rid of the exhaustion that comes from uncertainty. It just hates suspense, it hates anxiety, and it will do pretty much anything to get to a clear, predictable ending. Just think about it for a second. When you look up a movie spoiler, boom, you escape the anxiety of not knowing what happens. In the exact same way, by not starting your big dream, you escape the ultimate uncertainty, the risk of failure. In both situations, your brain gets that sweet, sweet hit of cognitive relief. It feels good to know the ending, even if that ending is, well, nothing. But, of course, it gets even more complicated. There's another huge reason we stay stuck, and that's what's called the illusion of progress. It's this fascinating way our brain can be tricked into feeling accomplished just by thinking about doing something. This is a really wild quirk of our minds. Our brains aren't always that great at telling the difference between the idea of doing something and the act of actually doing it. Just imagining success can feel surprisingly and dangerously real.
And this creates a really dangerous loop. First, you think about your goals. Maybe you even tell your friends all about your big plans. Second, your brain gives you a little hit of satisfaction, a little reward just for thinking about it. And the result? The urgency to take real action plummets. Because, hey, you've already gotten the emotional payoff.
And hiding just beneath this illusion of progress, there's often a much deeper, more powerful force at play, a hidden fear that creates what we can call the perfectionism trap. There's a quote from the source material that just nails this. It says, "As long as they don't actually try, their dream remains perfect, flawless, and untouched by reality." I mean, wow. By staying in that planning phase forever, the dream is safe, right? It's flawless because it's never had to face the messy, unpredictable, imperfect real world.
So the paralysis, it isn't coming from a lack of ambition. Not at all. The real fear is giving something your absolute all and then discovering that your best still wasn't good enough. That possibility is a massive threat to our ego, to our self-image.
And this core fear, it shows up as classic self-sabotage. You know the signs. Waiting for that perfect moment that, let's be honest, never arrives. Telling yourself you have to feel 100% ready before you start. Or, my favorite, overanalyzing every single step until you're so mentally exhausted you haven't even taken step one. And all of this is tied to our final roadblock. And it is a big one. It's our own sense of identity, and what can only be described as an addiction to the idea of potential. Here's the thing. Your brain craves consistency. It will actively fight against any action that clashes with how you currently see yourself. So if deep down you have this subconscious belief like, I'm not a disciplined person, then trying to take disciplined action feels completely foreign. It feels wrong. It feels uncomfortable. And this is where the big conflict lies. The idea of success, it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's full of possibility. But the actual work of success, it's often slow, repetitive, and let's face it, pretty boring sometimes. It is so much easier to stay addicted to that exciting feeling of potential than to engage with the uncomfortable, gritty reality of the work. So how do we close this gap? How do we bridge this huge canyon between dreaming and actually doing? It really comes down to understanding one fundamental difference in mindset.
Here's the difference, plain and simple. The dreamer waits for the feeling of readiness to show up before they act. But the doer understands a crucial psychological truth. Readiness isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. You don't feel ready and then act. You act and then you start to feel ready.
So in the end, the real difference isn't about talent, it's not about luck, it's simply the ability, the skill of taking action even when your own mind is screaming at you to stop. When every one of those defense mechanisms is telling you to stay safe in the comfortable, predictable world of your dreams. So I want to leave you with this question. Forget the grand plan for a minute. Forget about being perfect. What is one tiny, small, maybe even imperfect step you can take right now, today, long before you ever feel ready,